They wouldn't be, and neither should you when driving. Lives are at stake every time you get behind the wheel. Plan ahead. Don't drive high.
Okay, we are live with episode
All right.
5 of Gray Matters. Yes, that was just a word from our sponsor, Colorado Department of Transportation, with their plan ahead, don't drive high. So if you are going to go out, please remember to use an Uber. That's a great service. They need some money out there.
Yes.
Let's build the
Catch
economy
a
up.
ride.
Yes,
Be
catch
safe.
catch a ride, be safe. That way you can smoke more weed. Uh, See, there's an argument, right? It's a weird argument, but it is an argument, right? You can actually consume more cannabis if you are planned ahead so that you have somebody to drive for you. Anyway, joining
Yeah.
me,
I mean, why not?
why
Yeah.
not, right? So my best friend Rob Lee Davis is joining me from Brooklyn,
What's
New
going
York.
on? Yes. Brooklyn
Yes,
in the
Brooklyn
house.
in the house.
Brooklyn's
Um,
always in the house.
yes, hanging here for me. I'm in what I'm calling Hempcast Studios. I don't know if we talked about this, Rob. Um,
Hempcast.
Hempcast Studios. Why not? Right? It's a good name.
Okay.
We're live
Okay.
casting from here, and this studio is actually insulated with hemp insulation. And so I
There
feel
you
like
go.
I am encased in hemp.
Encased in
I am
hemp. Okay.
encased in
Okay.
hemp. I am surrounded.
Nice.
It's like my own little hemp
Nice.
universe in here. I mean, obviously not everything is hemp in here, but
Not everything, but
not
many.
everything. But every
Many things.
wall is filled with hemp. Every part of the ceiling is filled with hemp. Because you know what, it works as a wonderful sound insulation. So when we're working on building the studio, which for those you don't know, we built the studio in my backyard. And
Yes, you did.
yes, yes,
I remember when it was not a studio.
that's right, you do. And so we built it out of hemp because for a couple reasons. Obviously, we're the hemp connoisseur, right? And so we wanted to be able to utilize it as much as humanly possible. We did not build the entire studio out of hempcrete. It would have taken us too long to do what we need to do. It would have cost us more than we would have wanted to. And part of building on your home property when you have your wife and child who need to utilize it and stuff is to make it as fast as possible. So we there was a lot of factors that had to go into that. But yes, I really
Got
do
it.
wish we put as much hemp as we could in there at the time. There's hemp hardwood floors now, by the way, which did not exist for us to use at the time. I don't even know if they have something you
I
have to
love
order.
how into the industry you truly are. Like I
Of
remember
course
when
I
you
am.
first,
Yeah.
I mean, of course you are, but I
Right.
remember when it first became a thing, for lack of a different way of saying it,
Mhm.
and that it's gone on to great and continued success for you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and what I'm actually wearing this is Hustle Hemp shirt. It was actually a really
Nice,
popular shirt. We should
nice.
probably make it again. Designed by a good friend of mine who opened Denver Hemp Company, but he moved on to bigger and better things after that.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm always making sure I'm wearing hemp. I'm wearing hemp pants from a company called Vital Hemp. My man Ron out there, big shout out to Ron. Fan of his hemp pants, by the way, because randomly, I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk a little bit about hemp now. This is what we're going to do because
Yes,
we haven't
yes.
actually done it yet, Rob. Really, we always get into
No, we haven't.
politics.
We jump right into the
We
politics.
sure
So
do, man. And so
yes,
now,
let's have a hemp moment.
all right, it's stream of consciousness. And this hemp moment is going to be powered by cookie dough. So there we go. I'm going to just have to say that right now.
Yes.
I like to usually have a puff right before we get on, or I poke down. But honestly,
Hmm.
man, we were talking about this, and I think we're gonna have a. I'm gonna start calling this whole series of live casting that we're doing, and I'm gonna be doing on other days once we get sponsors. I'm kind of calling them the higher conversations, and you even said that's a good tagline, so we may just call them higher
Yes.
conversations. And hold on real quick.
Yes. Because that's what you're doing. You're helping people to elevate their minds.
Well, that's the idea, right? And honestly, I'm purely selfish human being. I want to elevate my mind. I want to have conversations with somebody who challenges me. You do that. You sometimes get a lot of times we agree, but a lot of times you think outside the box. I think outside the box, and you cause me to think of different
I mean,
things.
we have differences of opinion, but we're still on the same side of the aisle.
I think that's right. It's like you and I we could get into an argument, and we're not going to come to fisticuffs. By the way, if ever I say fisticuffs, you know what I picture when I do that is like an old timey boxer who's got his hands up, like give it to me, give it to me. Random, I know. But the idea to go back to this is higher conversations is it's not about, and I told you this right before we came on, is like it's not like about making cannabis the star of the entire conversation. I love talking about cannabis, obviously, whether it's talking about hemp or marijuana. But to me, it's more about let's smoke the peace pipe and let's have an in-depth conversation, and hopefully that can help enhance or open up my mind when I have that conversation, or the person who I'm with if they are consuming. Um, which is obviously just a choice of anybody, and let them have an engaging conversation. Like, there's always that smoking circle conversation. Like, dude, if everybody just got around and we smoke some weed, there'd be peace on earth. And it's like, well, let's start having conversations in that manner without sounding like the prototypical stoner, right?
Yeah,
you
I
know,
hear you.
so that's my thought process. Doesn't mean it's weed. We can have fun. Let's have fun about it.
Yeah.
But let's it's just a tool in the toolbox to open up a conversation.
Yes, it is.
If that makes
Just an
sense.
FYI, my
Yeah,
last time it was the video. This time it was the audio. The
yeah.
sound went out in my ears, so I took out my headphones, and I hope there is not going to be too much of a
Oh,
echo back to people when they
I'm not getting an
hear this.
echo on my
I
end,
hope not.
which all the audio comes through me and then it goes
Okay,
out to our stream. So if somebody does hear that, please let us know. In fact, that
please
reminds
let
me,
us
I
know.
should probably get into our page and make sure there's any comments. We can keep an eye on it because I didn't do that part yet. So let's get in there. Managing way too many things at once.
How has the hemp world been affected?
What I have seen in the hemp world, and I have to be brutally honest about myself, right, is that um, I have kind of taken a step away from the B2B side of it. And I love the entrepreneurs, I love the pioneers who built this industry. But, you know, during the awakening of, quarantine that a lot of people have had, I've been trying to have myself, and, Forced Awakening, it was like, okay, step back. What are you doing? Was I enjoying what I was doing? I enjoy talking about hemp. I enjoy obviously talking about politics, and I enjoy that. But there's a lot of things I don't want to do anymore, right? And that
Okay.
happens for a lot of people. If you do a business for a long time, sometimes you get caught in this torrent of like a current that like in that business flow, you're like, okay, I got to do this, and now I got to do this, and now I got to do this. And in the cannabis industry, I found, I mean, being in it for over 10 years now in Colorado, so it's pre-recreational legalization and really right at the cusp of the medical boom that we had here. I There's a burnout that a lot of self-prescribed described OGs of the legal cannabis industry have had.
Yes.
In because again, it wasn't like we all grew up going, I'm going to be a cannabis entrepreneur. Nobody at 5 years old is thinking that,
It
because
wasn't a
it was
dream back then.
well,
I
it
mean,
wasn't
for
a
some
dream.
people, it was.
It wasn't even an option, right? It really just wasn't. I mean, it's just not an option. It was illegal. Who knew when it was going to be legal at that point? And so a lot of entrepreneurs that were in this. You have a combination. You have the activist entrepreneur, who wanted legalization. Then said, well, okay, how can I now take advantage of legalization as far as an activist to push towards legalization? And then you have, what I would call the serial entrepreneur who just saw this great opportunity,
Right. Right.
and you could kind of say they were the people who were rushing from the green rush. And a lot of them were like, let's be honest, some of them didn't give a crap about consuming cannabis, or didn't even care.
Oh yeah, it was just a
It's
moneymaker.
just a moneymaker, and there's more and more of that now. I mean, because you got to remember also, you can't be risk averse to be in an industry that's not even federally legal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the pioneers of this industry, and, I've said this in the past, and always love this phrase because it was just so true in the cannabis industry, is you can always tell who the pioneers are. And the question is, well, how do you know who the pioneers are? Is because they're the ones with the arrows in their backs. All right, and I get it's a joke of, I mean, and I'm not trying to make light of pioneers taking over Native
Mm.
American land, but the pioneers were the first ones coming in, and of course they can't defend themselves. They have no idea what they're doing in this territory, in this land that nobody else has been in, with the mindset that they've been in, right? And they're the ones that are going to get knocked
Well,
down
yes,
first.
people have. I'm 100% on your side with what you're saying,
Yeah.
but people have been. It's interesting how it plays into this Americana story still of the cowboys and Indians, and
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
how the settlers, like, they pushed forward and they just
Hmm.
the manifest
Oh
destiny
well,
of
yeah, yeah.
slaughtering people.
True,
Like, come on.
true. And you're right. And for that, and as I was saying it this time around, that is occurring to me of like that. And that was the first time, is because it was more like, the pioneers are the arrows in the back. Let's move on with the conversation. And now I'm like, God, I got to look at that,
Yeah.
that statement again now. But the other part of that in the industry are the people who were literally in the cannabis industry before it was legal. So you have the black
Yes.
market people, and
Mm-hmm.
there's, I mean, that's not a judgment on them. I mean, I was somebody who was, I dabbled in the black market of cannabis, like most people who were
Yes.
regular purchasers of it, and who were connected with a decent network. I was a bartender, so yeah, of course it happens. And so it, there was this interesting movement in the cannabis industry here that was very exciting, right? It was, um, it was knowing, like, no, it's a rare thing, and I think that's the thing, is like knowing you are on the cusp of something that's going to change the world. And it's not
Mm.
that you're not like, I'm not saying I was driving the ship, nobody was driving a ship, right? I mean, there, really, I mean, the ship was going, and like I said, it was a river that was slowly accelerating. And are you going to get your dinghy on this river, and are you going to connect it to these dinghies and make a bigger ship, and blah blah blah, and and see, are you going to survive? um and I think that's kind of how the cannabis industry felt to myself, at least, is like there was,
Okay.
and it was, you had to be ready, like, for anything. Like, you had to be ready to adapt. You
Mm.
you know and if you didn't adapt, you weren't going to make it. And so there, after year of just having crap thrown at you, and then constantly having to adapt, and then constantly, like, some made it, some didn't, some sold as soon as they had a valuation that got to where they wanted to do. And I don't
Right.
blame any of those people for that. um but yeah, for a lot of us who were just in it and in it and in it, yeah, there's a burnout factor. And so for me personally, that's where it got with everything. And then, of course, after all this time of struggling to keep something going, and working in the cycle of a magazine, which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. That's work. That's
well, and it's
process.
it's work on multiple angles. Like, so for Christiana and for Christiana Lewis Brown and DJ Reitz, they were doing much more of the building of the magazine on a day-to-day basis, production wise, was their side. And then my side was, all the business stuff that I didn't really want to do, and I'm not somebody who's really suited to do that, but I did it because I had
Hmm.
to, right?
Hmm.
And the pressure of doing that on a regular basis, and the deadline, and constantly, it was one that was like a cycle of like, oh my God, I'm on Groundhog Day now. It's like, it really was, um this thing, like, okay, I'm going to deal with this again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And it never felt like it was a ride that I was like, I'm not sure if I still want to be on this ride. And again, none of that has to do with the industry as a whole that I love. I love what's happening in it, and I do love
Mm.
where it's at. I love watching this baby that is the legal cannabis industry on the marijuana side and the hemp side growing. Now, and so it's been an interesting ride in that side of things. But for us, we looked at it like, we got to do something else. And what is stuff I enjoy? And what I enjoy, is talking about many issues and many different things, with whoever I'm talking to. Like you and me, we focus generally on politics and culture, and that's great. I want to have conversations about astrophysics. I'm reading this crazy series right now by this, I'm going to screw his name, a Chinese author called Zishan Liu. I'm trying to do it phonetically, and I'm not trying to make fun of it. That's
Okay.
literally how they say
I
it.
appreciate the try. I
It's
do. I do.
trying, okay. Zishan Liu. I think it's kind of like that, like diphthong going in there. And he wrote this great series called Three Body Part Problem.
Yes.
Um, have you heard of this Three Body Part Problem? Have you heard? So it's about the celestial
No.
body. It's about celestial bodies and stuff like that. But what it goes into, it's a trilogy, and I'm literally finishing up the final, like, chapter of the trilogy. I've been doing these audiobooks, and I'd never read a Chinese author. It's going to be on Netflix. Like, the executive producers of Game of Thrones are like signing up to do this, guys. to do this series on Netflix. And then there was recently a thing about him after I already started reading it where these Republicans, I love this, by the way, so we'll talk politics on this. These Republicans wrote to the executive producers of Game of Thrones and Netflix, and they were very upset that they were going to produce this Chinese author's series. And what got me into the series was they were saying this is a series that the astrophysicists and like the scientists across physics and like these theoretical physicists, like this is the book that the scientists are reading and are in love with. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating.
Okay.
Is
okay.
it is it going to be over my head? And it wasn't. Luckily, I'm not sure how. Sometimes I have to go back. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it was really he's an amazing author. But anyway, they got off of this guy because he was saying in defense of China and their policies of these concentration camps that you've heard about, right? And he came from it. It was interesting.
Yes.
I'm not having any. I don't know what's going on in that story, but it sounds very similar to a lot of bullshit propaganda you'll hear from anybody, not just China, where they're putting this ethnic group into a concentration camp, and I'm forgetting the name of the ethnic group off the top of my head, so I'll have to look that up, and I'm writing a note to do it. But he was saying, well, it's better putting them in their own place where they have their own land is much better than letting them beat everybody else up. So all of a sudden it sounds a lot like, wow, that sounds so similar to like Antifa, anti-Antifa or something. Like you see that the rhetoric starts sounding so similar.
Anti-Antifa, that's hilarious.
Yeah, isn't that anti-Antifa? And people don't even understand what that is when they say that. I'm anti-fascism, which means I'm for fascism.
Like it's so that Antifa has been able to be politicized by the sort of far right wing.
Oh, and weird touch on that because that was in the debate. It was in the debate. We will talk the debate, Rob. We gotta. Oh.
Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
I know. Okay, let me finish this thing real quick though. So they're going after this Chinese, and this is just again another example of hypocrisy from the GOP because, they're going after a Chinese author, who, by the way, I'm sorry, that's the only time I heard about it, and I'm already reading this book, and I'm like, God, this guy writes. I mean, I've never met anybody or read anything where somebody could write high level scientific theories and concepts, but in the frame where there's beauty involved. It's a terrible beauty, and it's like and it's a beautiful beauty at the same time. And it's like there's so many things going on in this guy's writing that I'm absolutely in awe of his skill as a writer. Okay, it has nothing to do with his politics. I don't know enough about his politics. I don't know where he's coming from, but that statement is not necessarily the greatest of statements. But it comes into this whole cancel culture thing. It's like, so wait, you want Netflix to not pick up this guy's work, no matter how beautiful it is, because he made a statement that could be completely misinformed. He's getting propaganda all the time, whatever it is, I don't know. But Trump said he didn't mind the concentration camps either. Well, I'm sorry. Who has more impact? The executive producer.
Is that something he said last night?
No. This is something that's happened in the past, by the way. So that anyway,
okay.
But if you're interested, crazy like stories, by the way, this whole three. Zixuan Liu. So the first book is called 3 Body Part Problem, and then the next book is called The Dark Forest, and then the next book is called Death's Wish. And
you read them all? Damn.
Audiobooks, man. I'm telling you, I don't have time to sit down and read. I am a fan now. I've never done the audiobook. I'm happy to be a spokesperson for Audible or anybody who does this, because for somebody who's really busy,
yes, Audible.
Dude, I'm cleaning the house, I'm gardening, I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I'm listening to a book now, and I love doing that.
That you're gardening.
I know I do actually love gardening. I'm not a very good gardener just yet, by the way, but I'm getting there. It's a learning process in the whole gardening. Anyway, in time. But the thing is, I'm enjoying. Like, I can do all these things while I'm listening to this book, and so it was done well.
True. Plus, it doesn't distract you. I mean, I have listened to audiobooks before, but I just can't get into them because I feel like I would just be walking down the street and just stop because I'd be so caught up in the story. You know?
That has happened, by the way. There are times like I was like watering plants today, and Jackie stopped. She's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I just looked at her and I was like, "I'm sorry. The universe just ended, by the way. So I need a moment."
I was listening to my audiobook
I was listening to
series.
my audio, but I'm literally telling you the truth. What just happened in the book was essentially the universe having its final sunset, literally, and not the universe. I'm sorry, the solar system, our solar system, Earth solar system. In the storyline, the story wasn't over with that, by the way. I think that's what I'm not trying to give away anything, but and I just the way it was written, the way it was done was so frigging poetic because it had nothing. It has nothing to do with the end of the solar system. That's what's funny about it. But the way it was written, I mean, it doesn't. But the way it was written, was so poetic and so beautiful, and just it was beautiful and horrible and all those things. And it just like, and there is a part of that where I'm like, well, I don't know, would I have felt that if I read the book? Probably, but there was something about like just shutting my eyes and like letting the words come that was like very impactful. So yes, it does happen where you can be distracted by a book, but isn't that the point, right? Like, isn't that kind of the point that
It is, but not while you're walking down the street and get hit by a car because you're caught up in your audiobook.
well, I'm looking. It's not like my eyes are closed if I'm walking. See, I don't live in Brooklyn, New York, so there is that too, where I'm not walking
That
the
is
streets.
true.
I'm not walking the streets of New York.
There are not as many people in the street. I
There's
can
nobody
attest
else
to
in
it.
my backyard but a dog and my kid, and
Nope.
nope. So,
Yes.
uh,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
but anyway, I'm a fan of the audiobooks. I am actually I'm going to be a fan of it so much that I may want to start doing reviews of these, because why not, right? I mean
Okay.
I'm really sold on that. But that said, I want to go back to okay, so let's talk about I have nothing else to call it but the shit show. It's the shit show.
Okay.
Okay?
I heard that's what it was
It
referred to
it is
as.
just it I saw there was all these great memes of people like there was one that my favorite one was this one that Mark Hamill did, and I'm a Star Wars geek, so I love Star Wars. But I don't know if you know, Star Wars did this holiday special that was just awful, like way back in the day during like the first year like Star Wars
That's the
came
one
out.
that B. Arthur's in.
I don't know. She was in a Star Wars special. See, it already sounds terrible. How do you put B. Arthur in a Star Wars special? I don't know, but okay.
Because she's B. Arthur.
It's out of place. It's out of place. All right. But yeah. Anyway, he said that was the worst thing I've ever seen, and I was in the Star Wars Christmas special, and it was, and then there was this whole string of other people like that was the worst thing I've ever seen, and I was in Sharknado, and just all that, and it's funny, but look, it wasn't a debate.
Sad but true.
It wasn't a debate, and
Was
that's
anyone expecting it to be?
you know, no, and here's the thing that sucks, right? It's like honestly, I wasn't surprised. There was a couple times I'm like, wow, like we're just like Chris Wallace. I feel bad because everyone's like, I already heard commentary about this. Like Chris Wallace did not have control of this debate. And it's like nobody was going to have control of Donald Trump in this debate. There was nobody. He was gonna cut her off.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Just I despise that man. Right.
Are you talking about Chris Wallace now or Donald Trump?
No. Donald Trump.
Right,
he's a piece of shit.
Right. Well, he is. He is.
There's no other way around that. He's vile. He doesn't give a damn about anyone but himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the notion that this culture, a white American culture, has allowed this jackass to continue to parade around and make a fool of his, he has many times before last night made a fool of himself.
Yeah.
But makes a mockery of whatever the country is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if the country was what it's actually supposed to be, they would have walked away from him. I'm talking about the powerful political people because they're all still in his corner.
Well, it really comes down to this conversation of like, it is the party over the country kind of conversation, right? And really what I've seen, it's like, I mean, if we're going to do an analogy, it's like, imagine that they're a football team in the NFL and they are going to cheat and cheat and cheat because somehow they can continually cheat, and they don't care if they actually destroy the NFL and it no longer exists when they're done. They just want to be the ones with the most power until that moment happens. And I mean, that's how I feel like it's happening, because it is very much this team thing, and I don't get it, man. Like, well, I mean, I get it on one level, obviously, but the other level where I'm like, just viscerally, like, dude, you realize we all live in the same country, right? You realize that we all have to get along. Like, you realize, like, do you really not get
No, they don't though. It's the getting along
I
part
guess that's
that they
it, right?
don't.
I know. I guess I have more hope for people, and you're
Yeah.
right. I consistently get disappointed. But okay, so
I mean, I have hope. Don't me. I don't. I'm definitely not. I do not want to sound like a Debbie Downer, and I definitely don't live my life in that way at
right,
all.
right,
Um, but there is a willingness that people have made to go along with
right.
this, whatever it is that he's doing.
hmm
And I pair against the fact that, you know, 3 million more people, right, voted for this person right
Yeah.
behind me, right?
Yep.
That's what people
Look
voted
at you
for.
with the books there. Yes,
That's
you're
who
right.
people wanted to be the president of the United States, whether they liked
Correct.
her or not.
Correct.
But that's who people chose. But
Correct.
we have an antiquated system
hmm
that allowed this man in,
Yes.
and that system is continuing. Like, there's still the electoral college is not gone as far as I'm aware.
hmm
Like, everyone hates what it did, but it's still here.
But that you say everyone, but that's not true. I
And
mean,
they know
if
that.
I live in Wyoming, I don't want the electoral college to go away. Not at all. Why would I want the electoral college to go away? My vote is worth like 5 or 6 times at least more than your vote is worth because I live in Wyoming. You know what I mean?
Correct.
It's just
I know.
that's the way it works. Now we have on our
But I
ballot.
feel like it's a thing that should be voted on
Well,
nationwide.
no, I completely agree with that. But then how do you vote on it? Is it an electoral college vote or is it a popular vote to vote for whether the popular vote or electoral college vote works? I'm just saying. No, it would be a
Wow.
popular vote.
Wow.
But
It would be a popular.
it would be a popular vote. But look, the electoral college existed because, and that's the thing is everybody needs to say, what was the snapshot in time when this thing was created? All right. Right? I mean, isn't that where it goes? What's the snapshot?
Yes.
When was this created? The Electoral College was created at a time when there was no telephone.
But the snapshot in time is the same thing with whether you look at the Electoral College, whether you look at the Declaration of Independence.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. But we're talking about the Electoral College. Yes, but you're right.
But it's all. But I don't feel you can separate it out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're all part and parcel of a system that's built on a lie. Like,
right.
None of it. I'm glad that we are working to make the laws of the land better, equally reflect the people who live here.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing was written for anything but white guys who own land.
Yes, at that time.
That's what they were writing all of that stuff for.
Correct. No, you're right. I mean, that's the thing. That was a snapshot of time, of that time. But so here's a snapshot in our timeline, right? We have this crazy debate that happened, and I know you didn't get a chance to watch it, so I'm gonna let you ask me questions.
I have seen none of it.
You have seen none of it, so I want to hear what your expectations are of what happened in the debate. I know you've heard some things, and what you think. And you can ask me questions about it, but we're gonna get to it. We have to play a quick word from our sponsor because we are at the halfway point, man.
Sure, absolutely.
This is a record for us. This is a halfway point before we actually got to the topic we knew we were going to talk about today. So it's kind of funny that way.
Okay,
but here's a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
How would you feel if a truck driver was high on the job? They wouldn't be, and neither should you when driving. Lives are at stake every time you get behind the wheel. Plan ahead. Don't drive high.
All right, and we're back. So okay, so this debate. So first of all, like I came home from my daughter's softball game and I knew I was gonna miss it and have to watch the recording, but I came home and I did put on and I got I literally stepped into one of the more like holy shit, there it is moments, right? That like you hear Trump say the stuff he says. So here's the thing I'll tell you. Like when I come into a debate and I see an actual formal debate, I mean, and I know I'm not going to see that. I mean, I know it, but there's still a part of my brain, I think, that's like, there's going to be some semblance of an actual like debate, right? Like, I mean, like he was terrible with Clinton, but like there
Why?
was,
Why would you think that?
I'm saying for him, like I'm saying, like my standards were already really, really low. All right. I expected to see what I've seen him do in debates with Clinton and against the other Republicans, that when they had that like party of 30 up there running and nobody was worth, like literally they couldn't come up with somebody better than Trump out of 30 freaking candidates. So, um, but it was one of those.
Yeah.
So, but like even in those debates, I felt like he was trying in a way. I don't know. Like in this debate, he just
Really?
no.
I'm sorry, I cannot.
No, and I'm not like trying to even give him credit. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like the
can't
bar
give
got
him
set
that. He
lower.
wasn't even trying in 2016.
This one was so ugly, Rob. It was like it, the amount of interruptions was insane, and that was the thing. I expect him to interrupt them. That happens in debates. I get it, and he interrupted more, but it was like I can think of 2 occasions where he didn't interrupt Biden. And here's the thing I recognize. Chris Wallace kept doing something. He kept asking Biden first after a while. And he's like, we're going to 2 minutes. We're going to be quiet, right? And talk with Mr. Trump, we're going to be quiet for 2 minutes. These are the rules. And you agreed on them, and he kept trying to reprimand him. And I'll get into that in a second. But like, maybe there were 2 times where Biden actually got to speak like a full thought throughout. Okay. And Biden won that debate by maintaining his composure. And that's sad, but really the bar has been set so low for Biden as a candidate.
Well, just by being a human being.
Just by being a human being was enough to like be okay in that scenario, right? Because Trump came out and just like he was just an asshole bully. And it was really like, I mean, there was no policy, there was nothing, and I remember hearing some Democrats be like, "Well, I would have really loved it if Biden talked about policy," and I'm like, "Well, he didn't get a chance. Like he tried, he didn't get a chance." Now, and then there was also Chris Wallace had no control of the debate. Chris Wallace tried to have control of that debate. All right,
but this debate shouldn't even be occurring. Like this is a piece of the place where I am mentally and emotionally and spiritually at with all of this shit.
Yeah.
This man is a joke.
So
he never
I agree.
Should have been allowed anywhere near this position.
So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
No, you're right. But like if we do that, we can't have a conversation about the debate. It's like, yeah, this man's a joke. Mic drop. Let's move on because there's nothing else. He is all right, but like.
But the thing for me is that I didn't see it, and I 100%. I am 100% positive that I missed not a single thing.
You know what you missed? You missed. There were 2. Okay. Here's the moment on Biden. I'm gonna go on Biden first, and honestly, I appreciate that he's like, I'm not going to answer that question right now. And the question was, will you pack the courts if you win in the Senate and the Democrats win the Senate? Will you pack the courts because of the pretty much obvious confirmation and fuck you to the Democrats and the rest of the country really for Amy Coney Barrett, right?
Yes.
And so the question to Biden was, will you support packing the courts? And he said, I'm not going to answer that question because the policy I make will be the policy I make at the time. And I actually loved it. He's like, bitch, I don't know. I'm not going to say one way or the other. And honestly, I appreciated that answer. And everyone's like, he avoided the answer. It's like, no, he didn't avoid the answer. He said, I'm not going to answer it because maybe I will, maybe I won't. You know, and that's fair.
That's true. Look, this is the only thing I want to say about him. I don't want to go into a long debate about him. I actually prefer not.
No.
do that.
No, it's not about that.
I'm not a fan of his. You know, never really particularly been a fan of his.
Yeah.
If we move to this moment though without an acknowledgement that there are things that we are willing to give a pass on, or our side of the aisle, I should say, I guess, is willing to give a pass on, that previously for other people who usually were not white men, they couldn't give that pass.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, no. I absolutely understand. But, you know, we're at a choice right now, and everybody just needs to deal with it. Here's the choice. You have a baby in your arms. You can't take care of the baby. You have to give it one of two people, Trump or Biden. Who the fuck are you giving that baby to?
But here's my question.
I'm not saying I want to give it to Biden.
4 years ago, they also should have known. So what is the issue? Because nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed.
That person who you don't want to give the baby to is the same person you did not want to give the baby to 4 years ago.
I understand that. I get
What's different?
I don't know. There's nothing different for me or
You know
you.
what I'm saying?
There's nothing different for me or you. All right. And you look, everybody's gonna have whatever line they have. And they're supposedly, like, I saw some text, like, my friend had a Trump sign in their front yard, and after the debate they went and took it down. And I'm like, again, the debate was what did it, or are you just full of crap and you're just somebody putting a post out there that sounds cool so people get you follows? You know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing.
Thank
is,
you.
you know, I don't trust any of that.
It took until the debate. It took till last night for
Yeah.
you to realize that.
Oh, last night you figured he could grab pussy, he could do all these things. I mean, all that's all okay. So look, here's my thing for the debate. So Biden not committing to that was probably the biggest moment that they're going to attack him for. And honestly, I don't really care, and nobody cares. You know, I'm not against him adding 2 more Supreme Court justices if it makes sense. To me, it does. I don't feel like 9 people should have that much power.
I mean, as long as there's this 2-party back and forth, that's what will happen.
Yeah.
This side will do this, and then that side.
Yeah,
will do
eventually
it
the
again.
Supreme
This
Court will
side
be
do
like
it
78
again.
people.
Can you imagine?
But I mean, constitutionally doesn't work that way. But yeah, so that was his moment where I know they're going to go after him for. The rest of the time, it was like, it was just Trump. Like, I mean, look, dude, he looked sweaty. He looked like he looks. He didn't. I mean, he just looked like this weird, crazy, like, dude. And that's what he looked. He was unhinged. He was absolutely hot. All these things that people said. There was all these things that happened in it that definitely were what it was, right? But part of it was the one that stuck out, and it was one of those moments, like, when it happened, I was like, dude. And it was one of my favorite Biden moments, by the way, because it was when Chris Wallace got Trump to say, "Will you denounce white supremacy?" And Biden just did. Biden looked like he got his popcorn out, and he's like, "Will you?" Yes, will you? Will you? And he's like smiling, and he's like, and he had this, like, because Biden has kind of like a Joker smile, if you ever noticed. And you see full on Joker smile, like, you gonna do that? And then he's like, "Well, what are you calling them?" I'm like, "What are you calling who?" That's what Trump asked. What are you calling them? Who? He's like he needed to know a specific group of the white supremacists. Like, why couldn't he just say white supremacists? Like, and honestly, that's really what Biden probably should have done, was he should have said white supremacists. But Biden instead said the Proud Boys. All right. And we all know, like, the Proud Boys, they're the Tiki Torch dudes that got that thing going in Charlotte. And they've been arrested multiple times, and they've definitely had shown some stuff. And of course, Trump's own FBI director did come out, and Biden had said that. You couldn't hear him say it if you were, like, trying to really listen. You had to really listen to Biden, because Trump was, in the background. But was his own FBI said the biggest threat we have is domestic terrorism from white supremacists. That's our biggest threat in terror. That's what, and so what you have in this moment was Trump, Biden, so he says, which group am I supposed to denounce? Like you can't just denounce white supremacy. You have to get a specific group. Okay, fine.
Because, and the thing is, because on the one hand, I think he does understand it, but he doesn't have his brain is not that
Right.
complicated
No.
or in depth, I should say.
No.
So he can't really break it down in that way. But also, he does recognize that in some way, shape, or form, people who identify with that title or fall under that title are within the demographic of people who like him, and he doesn't want to upset them.
Oh, no. That's absolutely what it is.
Crazy.
No, it is. It's he's those are his worshipers, right? So he said specifically, because he said who, and then Biden goes the Proud Boys. He just says Proud Boys, and like it looked like Biden was just throwing it out there, like he knew it could have been KKK or anything. He's like the Proud Boys, because he knew that was the Charlotte guys. And Biden said, well, yeah, to them I would just say to stand back and stand by. That's what he said. So
I read that this morning.
So he literally said that, and that was the moment I was like, oh, there you go. So again, and here's the thing: when people are like, I can't believe he didn't say it, I was like, really? You can't believe he didn't? He already didn't denounce them in the past. He's already shown that he wouldn't do it. All he's doing now is confirming again and again and again that he's a racist. I mean, to me, it started with the Central Park Five. That's when you're like, dude, Trump's a racist guy, dude. He's just like, going nuts.
I mean, yes, it started. It did, although he was in cahoots with his father earlier than that.
Right.
But he's been this way, since we were kids or early teens or something.
Well, that's so, right.
And people keep standing by him.
It's amazing when you know that the New Yorkers who have known him all their lives are like, he's a horrible human being, people, and everybody who knows Trump is like, he's terrible, dude. He's just awful. He's really an awful person, people, and everybody else is like, he's amazing. It's like, how are you not recognizing that? But logically, the people that are closest to him. So there was that moment, and then there was the moment again about the elections where he just kept saying they're fraudulent, when there's absolutely no evidence that elections are fraudulent. And Biden was kept trying to. And what I did like about what Biden did was Biden very rarely even bothered looking at him unless he was laughing at him or like incredulous, or he did tell him to shut up. He's like, oh, just shut up, Don. And it was like, or you said Donald, and honestly, he did it so dismissively. That I appreciated it. And again, that's not what I want in a debate, though. I want to hear policy. I want to hear what you're doing. Now, there's not going to be any policy on the Trump side. And Biden was going to talk policy, and he was planning on talking policy, but there was not going to be any chance to talk policy. What should have happened, by the way, was they should have shut his friggin' mic off. Now,
but who is they? This debate was hosted by Fox News.
It was hosted by Fox News. It was run by Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace, you can't say he did a good job, because I really do think this was probably one of the worst debates in history. But it was, what was funny, and I saw somebody else say this too, was it was like Biden. I mean, they were saying Trump did so bad in this debate that he was third place in a debate of two, because he had to also debate Chris Wallace. There were times when he's just debating Chris Wallace, and Chris Wallace is just like, you got to follow the rules. This is what you guys agreed on. It was like 2 minutes, and be silent and do this and this. And
he doesn't.
No,
this
he
is
doesn't.
The thing that people aren't getting. They allowed this man to become president of the United States. Therefore, in his brain, 100% is the notion that he doesn't have to follow the rules.
Well,
he knows what a horrible person that he is.
No, he doesn't. He's a narcissist. He has no idea what a horrible person he is. I mean, like he's busy complaining about how awful his life has been during COVID, and hasn't even said anything about the 200,000 people. He's not. No, it's just like anybody. Like if we were performing in a play or in any show, and you're playing a bad guy, Rob, you can't play him bad, right? Because they don't. That was the thing we were always taught, right? You're taught that they are justified in everything they're doing.
I mean that he knows he can get away with shit.
Oh, well, that, yes. I'm sorry, yes.
So why would he act any differently last
No.
night. Like he is a a a cheat,
Mm-hmm.
a fraud,
Yep.
a con man, a
Mm-hmm.
grifter, all of these things that he's done all of his life.
Yes.
And last night,
Yeah.
he continued to be that as the incumbent president of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Why would he not think he can get away with anything?
He can get away with anything. Well, and here's how we fix this problem. All right. So first of all, if you're going to do another debate where they're in the same room together, I don't want to watch it. I will watch it because it's partly my job now, right? So I'll watch it. I'll look at it and I'll do it. But that's not the debate I want. I want a friggin' COVID debate. Okay? Everybody,
Okay.
I got to Zoom with you right now on this show because we can't do this live, even if we wanted to, right? And we can't do this with each other in person, I should say. I want Trump. I don't care if he shouldn't be in the Oval Office. I don't, right? But he should be somewhere, and there should be a freaking Zoom camera on him, like he's on CNN or Fox when he's calling in, and have Biden on the other side, and have the moderators in the friggin' middle on camera, and they can mute his butt every time it's not his time, and they can mute the other guy every time it's not his time, and then you get a debate. Then you're forcing the dude to have a debate, and now that would be hilarious.
I mean, they could do that now.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They could do that right now.
Zero reason why, if they wanted to,
Zero reason.
have control over the mics, that they couldn't shut them off.
Make it a COVID debate. It's COVID year. It's 2020.
COVID debate.
It's a COVID debate. There's no reason why you can't have a spatially distant. Oh, by the way, I like that. My wife said this the other day. She's like, I hate social distancing as a phrase.
So do I.
It should, or maybe it was you as well who said it. Maybe I said it to her after that from you. It should be called spatial distancing.
For me, I went with physical distancing back in like March or April.
Because that's what it is.
Except social distancing.
I don't understand. So is socialism me on top of you? I mean, like being social, is that me on top of you now? I didn't know that was what I'm being social with you. Now let me grope you. No, this isn't Harvey Weinstein. Yes, I get we're social beings, but we don't have to be spatially on top of each other, is what I guess. But physically,
right.
There you go. Yeah. So, look, it was a shit show of a debate. Nobody changed their mind. By the way, if you did change your mind, one way or the other in that debate, f you.
There are no.
I mean, really,
people.
What took you so long? Like, really? Like what part of this? Like or unless like here's the thing though, there are people who are so low information that they're like, I haven't seen anything. Let me just watch this one debate and see. Holy crap, is that what Trump's really like? I mean, like, is that like maybe that's
who Quienes? Who are
Quienes? ¿Qué pasó? I don't know, man.
There's no who's that low information,
dude. They're low information. No, I was just working with somebody the other day who didn't even know who was running for president against Trump.
And he what?
He didn't know who was running against Trump. But he's never voted. You know what I mean? So, like, fine, don't vote. Don't vote.
Roughly.
Thank you. But there are people who literally don't watch TV or don't watch the news ever. And we have a distraction society. We really do. And if Kim Kardashian or whoever you're following doesn't talk about politics at all, you're not going to learn anything. It's just what it is. Right? I mean, so I
hear you.
They do exist. They do exist. Okay. And it doesn't mean, it just means they don't care, and that's fine.
I do imagine I will watch the vice presidential debate.
Oh, I can't wait because I love me some Kamala, and
that's going to be.
I love her debating skills.
One for the ages, I believe. They'll be studying it in classes.
Well, can he be on the stage with her without his wife? I'm confused as to what his rules are. I'm really confused.
Yeah, I don't get that thing with he and his wife. Like, that's not. That is it's outdated what they're doing.
Well, he calls her look.
Not ever be separate from each other. What does that mean?
I don't know, man, but I can't help but feel that like there's regular photographs of Mike Pence with a red ball and leather in his mouth, and he's gimping it out with his wife.
Oh, I
and
am
she is
so convinced
yeah.
that there's a sex tape of him somewhere. Lindsey
Mhm.
Graham may be in it. I'm not sure. It's a
Oh
possibility,
no,
but
Lindsey Graham's got his own stuff going on there. He's got his own stuff going on there. I don't know.
Lindsey Graham is well, no, I can't say he's psychotic because he knows what he's doing.
Oh, that's what makes it
Um,
worse, isn't it? He knows exactly what he's doing.
yeah,
And he's cool with being a hypocrite. I mean, and that's the thing about it is like he's not even hiding it. I mean, I don't know.
no, I can't remotely figure out his end game.
Right,
It's like he wants, no matter what happens, to be able to say, "Well, see, I
right,
said blank."
right. Well, can let's spend like the last 10 minutes, if you don't mind. Can we talk a little bit about taxes? And
Oh,
yeah.
all right.
So Trump's tax forms, this New York Times thing has come out, and it was funny because nothing in there is surprising to me, right?
Yes, nothing.
Nothing. So he's paid $750 a year for the first 2 years of his presidency. I think it was 26 and 17. He paid $750 in taxes, federal taxes, and um, in no taxes for a lot because of his losses. And there's no doubt everybody's been saying for a long time that the evidence is that this man has no money, right? He really doesn't have the money he says he. Now he has value. You have all these properties; they may be leveraged up the butt, but there is a value to them, and blah 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 blah. So like, I'm not,
Yes.
but there's also like some of the truth of the Trump name is it's just a name. And he's a marketing
Mm-hmm.
guy, and he's built his name up. And some people would say, "Hey, man, can we put your name on our building? Because I think it'll sell, and it'll make a bigger name for this building."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, go ahead." And he has done nothing to create that building. He just sold licensing for a name,
Yes.
and that's not a hard thing as a business person to do. So yeah, he's created an image, and he made. Obviously, they said he's made most of his money from The Apprentice or from his daddy. So Daddy or The Apprentice, and he squandered it. Um, I am not surprised by this. Nothing is surprising about this fact, right? Um,
No, and none of this will matter to the people who support him.
no, it won't matter to them at all. They don't listen. They don't pay attention. In fact, I knew it. I told Jackie, I was like, just wait. What they're going to do is they're going to talk about how good of a business person he is because he's avoided paying taxes.
Exactly.
And
That's
that's what they did.
exactly how it's
That's what they
going to
did.
be
And by the yeah,
spun. But
yeah,
a piece of the problem is that uh, each of us, to make a sweeping statement, I try not to,
I don't.
would also want to pay as little tax as we could.
Yes, correct.
So I'm not saying that he's a genius because he's stupid, but the argument that someone tried to pay as little taxes as they could is hard to sell as a oh my god, really? Everybody wants to do that.
Well, and
To
here's
me, the way he
mm,
cheated people out of money is a
yeah,
bigger
that is a bigger one. Um,
piece.
the bigger part for me is that he's in debt.
Mm,
So that's the thing that I think people need to understand is like we've said this in the past, and I'm going to consistently say that the 20th century, now 21st century version of slavery, or hidden slavery, I should say, because it's not like human trafficking doesn't exist anymore, but is debt. Debt is the new sense of servitude because when people are in debt and the population's in debt, they are forced into
yeah,
choices that they may not want to make as a human being, right? And for their
I
betterment.
agree.
So that's debt. Debt on the scale that this man is in debt is so immense that it comes down to how much would he do to get rid of the debt and how much would he do. I mean, he's like, we're looking at like in 2 years, I think it is over $400 million he's personally liable for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been in debt. I've had to deal with things like that in the past and work my way out, and that
Yes, I
sucks.
know
And that's
about that.
right. That's every American knows about debt
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. And that sucks. And like the question I would say is, if you were, let's just say $50,000 in debt, if you're an average American, if somebody came over to you and said, "Hey, if you do this one favor for me, you're not gonna like it, but it's okay. It's just a little illegal," and it is. It's just a little illegal. If somebody says, "Hey, could you just move this package from here to here and you're debt free?"
Mm-hmm.
Very few Americans are going to say no to that.
Very
Okay.
few people
Very few
globally
human
are
beings would
going to
say
say
no
no.
to that, right? I don't know what's in this package. I'm moving it from this point to that point. I'm going 3 miles. Nobody's going to know I'm doing anything illegal, and I'm going to be debt free at the end. Most people are going to take that. Okay. This man is
Yeah, or be highly, highly tempted to.
right. This man has already shown that he doesn't have the same scruples as a normal human being, and he's $400 million in debt. All right. The equation is already there that this is not a good thing for our country that he's the president of the United States. And who is he truly in debt to? And who's going to pay for those debts for him? And those are the things that like everybody needs to be asking themselves. And that's exactly why the tax returns have been hidden all this time. Because this is a security threat. And if you ask, the FBI, if somebody is going to be hired by the Trump administration, if they were in that kind of debt, that's a flag that would keep them from being hired. And we are talking about the president.
I know.
And so that to me, that's the thing that needs to be discussed more when we come in terms of the taxes. It's not that he's a businessman who cheated the system so he didn't have to pay taxes. Big freaking surprise. That's what's going to happen. And this, by the way, has nothing to do with him being a good businessman, does it, Rob? And he has good,
Exactly.
he has good accountants.
Exactly.
He's not the accountant,
Yes.
The accountants are the ones who are doing that. So, yeah. So he doesn't have.
Thing also, with these debts, like I'm trying to figure out how to say this because I'm not wishing it. I try not to wish evil on people.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, with these debts, and this man who I believe is truly a coward at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
He, puts on this great bravado, but he's really a coward.
I almost wanted Biden, by the way, to do something like physical towards him. Like, come on. I almost wanted Biden to do that in the debate. I'm glad he didn't, but just kind of be like, man, I'm coming across here to smack you across the face right now. And then you see Trump be like, oh, yeah, go ahead. Like, because he'd do the the scared bully face,
oh, my God.
So, but anyway, sorry, please go back. Sorry.
But that if push comes to shove, that he would, I'll say he'll do anything because he will rather than go down without a fight.
No, they're doing
it.
They
finally corner him and he's alone in the room with a gun. He's not going to let them take him. Like,
you think he'd commit suicide? You think he has the ball? No, he's too much of a coward to be the coward to commit suicide.
I don't know.
He's not brave enough to be that much of a coward. They're telling you. They're
going to come after him. That's all I'm saying.
I don't care. He's not. He loves himself too much, bro. That's what I'm saying. He's not brave enough to be that much of a coward. Commit suicide. There's no way. He won't, because he's a narcissist. He's always right, and he's beautiful. That's his thought process. I don't know. That's my thought, I think. There was some.
I'm not wishing it, but
No, I get it. Like I want him. I want a person like that to have their comeuppance. I want them to be in jail.
Yes,
I want to see him in.
Want.
I want the orange suit will be really good with the orange hair and were the $70,000 haircuts they said in the tax, or was that for Ivanka? $70,000 in haircuts.
I can't. You know what I want? I said to Jen, all right, on Taking You Back, our podcast.
Jen wearing your
that I want him like stripped naked.
Ooh,
and dropped from a plane.
Oh, dude.
Like into the middle of the jungle for like the last and final seasons of Naked and Afraid.
Oh my God. He wouldn't make it.
That would be brilliant. That would be my CTV.
He wouldn't make it. Him and Melania at the same time.
Yeah, because she got to go too. I can't.
Well, that I did hear that the theory of why they haven't gotten a divorce is she would get half of the debt. I don't think it works that way. By the way, I'm pretty sure he's personally liable and not her.
I mean, she's gonna go for as much money as she can possibly get when it's over. But when she tries to show up on some talk show couch and like Oprah better not have Melania on there crying and talking about how hard it was. Like, no,
she ain't. No.
No.
Don't give her anything. Don't give him any credit. Well, and that's the thing is like I honestly all I want is I do want them to like prosecute as much for this wrongdoing, and there's a reason for that. Like whenever they say this whole idea that the country has to heal, and so we're gonna move on, I hate that. By the way, I really do. Um, like
What would you say instead?
the way to heal is to have justice. You don't heal by going, oh, we have to heal. So we're not going to go after Trump and his group for all the illegal things they've done. We're just going to move on. And I'm like,
No,
no,
absolutely
no,
not.
no, no. That's not healing. That's not healing. That's just brushing something under the rug, right? You have to prosecute because if you don't, another Trump will come. All right.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just what it is. You have to prove there has to be something where it's like, you know what? This whole like a sitting president can't be convicted. I'm torn on that, by the way, Rob.
I'm not against the notion of you can't just throw a president in jail. It turns us into definitely not a global democracy if that's what we're doing. I think there should be more steps in place for that. I mean, what's the point of the vice president then? To have the person step down temporarily or something?
But
like
but see, we've just been presented with this crazy mess, right? Like you have this president. He's done. There's so many things that are wrong with what's been going on, and some of it are like honestly, man, some of the stuff he's done has broken the law because he's just an idiot. All right, it's not like he's out there like, how can I destroy the Constitution? He's not thinking like
he's
that.
Just stupid.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's just doing the things that he wants to do because he only thinks, in this administration and even the GOP, they think there's some things that they do that are long term and there's some things that are short term, right? And this short term cycle of politics and governance is very dangerous, right? That's the thing is on the governance side, it's very dangerous. You have to think long term. You have to plan out. You have to be like ready to govern for a period of time and do the job that needs to be done. And short-term thinking doesn't work to me. There was a statement, for example, but then you have like there is a thing that they are doing. There's long-term thinking, and that's the appointment of judges. And what I laughed about on the appointment of the judges side was there was a conversation about that in the debate where he's like, well, you guys left like 108 federal judge seats open, so you didn't do your job. And it's like, excuse me. Because he was talking about the Obama administration. He's like, they didn't leave those open. Mitch McConnell left those open by not allowing him to do his job. That's what happened. Okay. And like, that's the thing that's like, I love this whole like revisionist history side of things. It's like, no, the specific thing that happened was he wasn't going to get a judge passed. Do we remember Merrick Garland? Like it wasn't just Merrick Garland. All right. It was federal judges in general. And then as soon as they had the opportunity, they did that. Now, Harry Reid did not help the matter in the long term by making it a straight up majority vote because then the Senate is taking care of it. Now that may end up coming back and biting the Republicans in the ass. So that we'll see what happens.
Which is crazy that we just have this volley back and forth of like I said, you did this to me and we're going to do it to you. It's so not beneficial in the long run.
Yeah.
And
no party system.
Revisionist history is what this country is based on.
Well, pretty much most countries are based on revisionist history.
This horrible, disgusting man who's president, who wants to be etched in stone on Mount Rushmore, where we herald the greatness of a country, but those etchings are in stones that belong to the indigenous people whose country it was to begin with.
Yeah, it's quite a huge analogy for this country, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing, Mount Rushmore itself.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We're running over our time, by the way, so we do have to end this up.
I know.
We'll have to.
You know what I like because it leaves us with a much more to come back to.
Well, it always does, but something crazy is going to happen next week, so we're not going to end up having to continue.
Next week? Tonight? What are you talking about next week?
Next week, whatever. I don't know. It's going to be something. There's going to be more. I think there's going to be, by the way, more information. I'm going to leave it on this on the taxes. All right. There's going to be more detailed information that's going to come out on this taxes that are going to upset people who are paying attention. But the problem is that people who are paying attention now are only paying attention to specific things. So perfect example is I did put on Hannity before I watched the full debate. All right. I was like, we've talked about we got to flip to the other sides and watch what they're saying. And it was just the beginning. And it was immediately about Biden's, saying, I'm not saying he was going to, whether or not he would pack the thing, the courts, the Supreme Court. But and it was like, oh, and this. And he's like, and Trump was strong. And he showed, and Biden couldn't handle how strong Trump was. And Trump really what did he bashed him down, or he beat him down. He beat him down. I think that's what he said. I beat him down. And I'm like, you guys understand that that's not a debate. All right. like if you're going to do a smackdown, it should be like a thought-provoking verbal smackdown in a debate where you are having, you're having a discussion and what you say is so on point that you beat that person down with your point. But there was no point. It was just like straight up, just like, bleh, like everyone. He kept bringing up Hunter Biden, the 3 million, and I'm like, really, dude. Here's the thing, and this is my side on the Democrat side right now. It's like, there's no way that I would be that upset, even if it's true, which it has been unproven. It's been proven that it's not true, right? Even by Republican panel that did an investigation into this, found no wrongdoing by Hunter Biden. All right, let's be clear on that. All right, Republicans found no wrongdoing on Hunter Biden, just like Republicans found nothing illegal about what Hillary Clinton did. Okay,
thank you.
Nothing. They did it. They did it. Nothing illegal. Of course, now they didn't look into the private email servers for Jared Kushner or Ivanka Trump at all. That was okay, but nothing into them. So there was that. And so nothing, Hunter Biden didn't do anything wrong, but what you have is there was this moment, and this is how clueless, where Biden was talking about Beau Biden, his son who died.
The one who died.
Beau, who was military and had a Bronze Star and did all. I mean, he was like, yeah, I'm sorry, Hunter, you're the black sheep of the family. You went off. You had drug problems. You got a little. You got a little crazy in your life, all right? A lot of times families have that, right? And you have the golden boy who is Beau, all right? Sorry, Beau was a little more of a golden boy, but Beau did a lot of great things, and and Biden came after him for the whole suckers and the losers comment in the military, and he's like, well, what about your son? He was dishonorably discharged, and he just like. Trump, he's like, I'm talking about Beau, first of all, is what Biden said. He's like, I don't know Beau. But let's talk about Hunter and his 3 million. And it's like, did you just like, you don't even know about his son? Like,
he knows nothing.
He did no
unless
research.
It immediately, involves him.
I know.
Like, I'm sure somewhere in his brain, he does comprehend that he has a son. But I am surprised that he didn't blurt out, "Oh, the dead one," because that's how his brain works.
Yeah. Yeah,
sure
you know
it's
bad. Well, speaking of dead, it's bad when you're the president and nobody wants you at their funeral.
At their funeral?
Nobody wants you at their funeral. It's usually a sign of respect, and it's like, wow, it would be amazing if the president came to my husband or wife's funeral.
Yes.
Like, and everyone's like, please don't come. No, don't come. Don't come. We don't want it. It's not about you.
Yeah.
We do have to end this, man. It's tired. But look, there's going to be more details about taxes. I'm telling you right now. I bet this conversation is going to continue. I'm telling you that nobody's going to care who's going to vote for him. But there will be more details on the taxes. It will absolutely happen. Anyway, love talking to you, bro.
Love talking to you,
thank you, everybody, for listening to us. Please follow us at Facebook on Hemp Connoisseur. We will be starting to have, hopefully, in the next coming weeks, more podcasts. I mean, live casts, I should say, on cannabis specifically, but like kind of in our higher conversations category that we're talking about here, Rob. Right? Like, let's those of us who
elevate the discourse.
Elevate the discourse. I like that. Elevate the discourse. For those of you who want to consume for the conversation, please do. It's kind of my peace pipe conversation of like, how do we, I know you can't do that. You're an educator. You have to be you're a teacher. You have to do your thing. You're in New York. It's not as free.
Yes.
So it sucks for you, buddy. But for the children. We haven't talked about that, by the way, and we need to because 500,000 students just got back to New York this week. to schools in the largest public school district in the country.
Yes,
And
they did.
and
I think it's a hot mess. We'll talk all about
oh
it.
yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about it. But we had too many other hot messes to talk about today. So. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you so
Yes.
much to Colorado
Thank
Department
you.
of Transportation.
Yes,
Please plan
CDOT,
ahead.
thank you.
Do not drive high.
Yes.
That way
Hi.
you can, be higher if you really want
You
to,
can
because you
stick
don't have
around to listen to us next
stick
week.
around. Exactly. Thank you very much. For everybody out there, thank you so much for listening to us. Peace, love, and